You're a man.
I was prisoner 334879, a civil rights activist from the bog side of Derry, from behind the barricades of Rossville Street, the defence of that wee small square inch of land, from a proud Republican history. We were a Catholic family. We all had a PhD in poverty, hunger and damp. It was an everyday thing to see little white coffins on the street. Hey, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up for me? My 2-year-old brother Paul died of measles and poor living conditions. He never should have died.
I remember this is the first funeral ever I was at as a young fella. My brother Paul in a little white coffin was buried just here, placed him in there. I remember my father placing him in to the grave, and I was standing here as a young fella watching him. And my father says he's with his grandmother and grandfather and he's in heaven.
My Uncle Joe was a founder member of the Provisional IRA. He, together with 2 comrades, were blown up in a bomb of their own manufacture. 2 children also died. This had a huge and fundamental change within our family. We weren't going to take this on our knees, so we took it to the street. And if we were going to die, then we'd be dying on our feet. They came for me one night with helicopters, sirens, and lights. I hid my children in under the staircase with a mattress and some blankets. They charged me with 2 attempted murders and kept me for 2 friggin' years. But the best they could come up with was credit card fraud. This was an Al Capone moment. Would I betray one of my own, or would I sort this out myself?
We do have to talk about the past, but with a very clear vision of where it is we're going, because there is a roadmap here. And part of that is dealing with the past, dealing with the hurt, dealing with the injustice of the past, putting it behind us.
I saw a screw beating up a prisoner. Something inside me snapped. Man's inhumanity to man. This became a political act to defend a fellow prisoner against a PO. So I took the mop and I dropped them. I went to a place I never thought I would go. I went over the top. Clear blue rage and anger, hate. A screw I knew shouted, "Jesus, Vinny, what have you done?" The next thing was a tsunami of blue helmets, and their training was perfect. But you know something? I wasn't fucking bad myself. Come on, lads, let's get it on. I'm your man. We clashed. Crushed out against the wall. Heat, tagged out. They threw me into my cell. Now the real hard time began. I'd done everything I could to protest their violence and torture. I smeared myself with excrement from head to toe to stop them from getting their hands on me. I lived in solitude and filth. I became a fucking animal.
When I was in prison, the brutality would get so bad that I would have an out-of-body experience, and I become the watcher watching. The puppet was able to represent me on stage in such an incredibly touching way that I could actually express myself through the puppet.
Then one day, they threw a pair of white rugby socks into my cell. Another vicious beating. They started unscrewing the window grill and tied the socks to it. They pushed my head through. I was swinging like a rat. Somehow I got a burst of superhuman strength. I was able to break free. All hell broke loose. They threw me back into my cell. It became a Mexican standoff. I didn't eat for 69 days. I drank my own urine because I was afraid they'd poisoned the water. I got weaker and weaker. I went in and out of consciousness. I hadn't seen a doctor. I was dying. I was hallucinating. My body was cannibalizing itself. I no longer cared. They moved me to a military prison. Someone put me in a bath. Then I was put on a gurney. He may not make it through the night. Who are they talking about? Oh, sweet Jesus, let me see the light of day. I was in hospital between two Brits and a prison officer. The nurses rubbed oil on me. It was the first gentle human touch I had felt. I could feel the love coming through their fingers. I knew then this all had to end. I had to forgive the men who had brutalized me. I couldn't live with the hatred anymore. "18 years later, I had a similar dilemma. My 31-year-old nephew, Kieran, was taken by a paramilitary murder squad. Stripped naked, brutalized, and left by the side of the road, while his blood ran down a windswept hillside. He was found shortly later in the rain by a priest who had just said a healing mass. And I had a decision: revenge or forgiveness. I thought of Kieran's mother's grief-stricken eyes, and I thought, no, I can't be like the man who carried out these acts. This endless cycle of murder must stop. So, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you.
There are so many things in my life that I need to be forgiven for, so I had to learn to forgive if I was to be forgiven. That's a hugely important part of my life.
Particularly when